Hi, this is George, and I just wanted to go over the feedback for week 2. We finished up week 2, and all of the everything's been graded, and feedback has been provided for week 2. So just wanted to go over that, and then also prepare you for week 3. Week 3 is going to be pretty busy, and so you need to make sure that you get started on that. Now, the feedback for week 2. To be honest with you, I'm a little disappointed uh, in the discussion board and the way it was handled and how things were done. If you go back to and look over the syllabus, the Start Here video where I go over everything for the class, and the announcements for August 18 and 31, you'll see I say that the minimum, which is average, the minimum is the initial post by Thursday and 3 significant responses by Sunday. Now, significant means something other than gnarly post due sort of thing, where you bring in new information, you bring in new articles, new links, things like this. I'm a firm believer that there's a lot of wisdom and experience in the room, in the classroom. It's sharing that experience and finding new stuff that we share with everybody else where all of us learn more. So the minimum is the initial post by Thursday, 3 significant responses by Sunday. That gives you a C. There are a lot of folks, I think, who didn't really believe me as far as that's concerned. So make sure that you read over the syllabus. You go back to the Start Here video to see the requirements for the discussions, and look over your feedback from this past week. Now, if you go to a discussion board, you open up a discussion board, you can see the rubric that would be used for judging and grading the discussion. And you can see that there's timeliness and what they mean as far as exceeds, meets, and does not meet. Writing, in other words, I hold people accountable for the writing. The relevance of the initial post, in other words, how significant is that initial post? How much information did you bring? Things like that. The quality of responses, in other words, what are you doing as far as bringing in other information? What are you doing as far as furthering some of the ideas that we have? And then the contribution to the learning process. So you can see it's not just number of posts, it's also quality that go into the grading as far as the discussions are concerned. So make sure that you look over this rubrics and see how the discussion posts are actually judged and graded. Now, make sure you look over your grades. To look over your grades, you go to grades. And if you have new ones that have been posted, it'll show here with how many grades are new that you have to look over. In looking over the grades, there are several things here to see. First of all, you can see the rubric results. And so it will show you how many points you had for each of those areas as far as the rubric is concerned. You can also see the feedback that goes along with anything that I put in there. So they'll have some feedback comments and things like that. That's from clicking on this. If I have put in specific comments within the paper itself, you click on let's go back here. You click on the exercise or whatever it is that you're looking at, and you click on View Feedback. And you'll see if I've put in any comments into the feedback area, all right, any specific comments. So that's how you go through and look over the feedback that you've received as far as your papers, as far as your discussions and things like that. So make sure you look that over. Now, in week 2 and the exercises, the problems that I saw, there were several mistakes, consistent mistakes as far as the problems are concerned. Let's go back. In looking over the problem answers, there are several things, consistent mistakes that I saw. First of all, in this, it's asking about liquid assets. Liquid assets. Now, liquid assets, if you go back to the readings, are things like cash or anything that can be converted to cash that day. So, for example, savings accounts and things like that. The mistake a lot of people made was their retirement account, including that. If you have a bunch of money in a retirement account and you try to get your money out, it's going to take you some days. It is not considered a liquid asset. Also, current liabilities. In other words, liabilities are things that are due within, say, 30 days. Or you get a bill in, all right? You have your electric bill that comes in. Well, that has to be paid within a couple of weeks. And so that would be a current liability. A lot of people had the mortgage included as far as the current liability. You get a 30-year mortgage, you're going to have just this month that's current. The rest of it is going to be in the future. All right. So that was a mistake that a lot of people made there. Another mistake was miscategorizing some of the things as far as assets, liabilities, things like that. For example, rent for the month is $650. Okay. Well, you don't see that as far as a liability. A liability is a bill that has come in that you have to pay. In this case, for number 3, it was the $235, which is your credit card balance, and the $2160, which was your balance of educational loan. Your rent for the month is something that you're going to have to be paying. It's not necessarily a liability, something that is owed right now, all right? As far as assets, okay, spending for food is not necessarily an asset. It's not a liability. Okay, that is cash that has been sent out. Savings account balance, that is an asset that you want to put down. Your current value of your car, that is an asset that you want to put down. Credit card balance, that's a bill that you have. That's current liability. Auto insurance, well, you're going to have to pay that, throughout the time. The thing is, right now, you've already paid it. You don't have that current liability at this point. Video equipment is an asset that you have. Lunches and parking at work, those are expenses that come out. They are not a liability or an asset. Personal computer, there's an asset. Clothing purchase, you bought some socks, okay, $110 worth of socks. That cash is gone. That is not a liability. It's not necessarily an asset. Your take-home salary, in other words, what it is that you take home every 2 weeks or month or whatever it is, or over the month, that's not an asset. That's something that you're expected, a cash inflow that you expect to come in. So if you go back and look at these things, you can see what it is that the assets are, what the liabilities are. The mistake a lot of people make is they added more things into the liabilities than what were actually there. Your total cash inflow is just your monthly income. The total cash outflows would be those things that you had already spent. So for example, the rent, the food, things like that. So those were some of the major mistakes. There were consistent mistakes that I saw as far as the exercises are concerned. Now, for the coming week, for week 3, we have a very busy week for week 3. If you look at the instructions for week 3, you see we're going to be going over chapter 3 for the week, okay? So you want to watch the video as far as the PowerPoints. Now, I've also included a video as far as the old versus new taxes. I want people to look over and see the difference as far as what's in the book as far as the tax tables are concerned, because that was done before the tax bill that came out back a couple of years ago. You want to get the quiz completed by Thursday. Now, there is not a discussion board for the week, and the reason is because we have the test, the first test for this week. The test can be done anytime between 7 o'clock in the morning and midnight on Friday. Friday only. The only time it can be done is between 7 a.m. and midnight Central Daylight Time on Friday. If you have something that's coming up, you can take it early. You cannot take it late. I do not allow makeups. Once you start the test, you have 50 minutes to complete it. You also have problems that need to be submitted by Sunday. In other words, 4 problems on pages 100 through 101, which relate to chapter 3. You also have your first reflection paper. Now, the reflection paper, again, is several pages where you step back and you say, what did I learn over these past 3 weeks, and how will I use it? And with that, you include the sheets at the end of each of the chapters that were to be completed. So, for this week, for week 3, you have your reflection paper, and if you look at the reflection paper, it explains 2 to 3 pages over chapters 1 through 3. Half of it, what were the key things that I learned over these chapters? And what am I going to do with those learnings? Okay, now the key is going to be the specifics as far as what it is that you say you're going to do. You also want to include the sheets for chapter 1, 2, and 4. Remember I said at the end of week 1, I said you better be completing the sheets, get them out of the way. Chapter 2, which was this past week, and you want to complete sheets 5, 6, and 8. And chapter 3, which is this coming week, sheets 9 and 10. And again, any of those sheets asking for specific personal information like a social security or something, social security number or something, don't put it in there. All right, you can put in some X's or put in confidential or whatever it is. This is all due, okay? The reflection paper is due, it's actually due by Monday, okay? Monday after the test. Right now I'm going to have to change that as I look at it. We have the test on Friday, the following Monday, a week from today. You want to have that first reflection paper done. You'll see it's due on 9/13. So you need to make sure that you are staying focused this week. My strong suggestion to you is get the readings done, watch the videos, get the quiz done, work on those problems as far as that chapter is concerned, and start studying for the test. In the modules, to prepare you, help you prepare for the test, you do have the Exam 1 study guide. Now, the study guide shows you, here are the key things that you need to make sure that you understand and know. So, for example, from chapter 1, here are the key things that you need to make sure you understand. Chapter 2 and chapter 3. Then you also have several extra credit questions that come into play. I always include extra credit in all of my tests. The test is all multiple choice. Again, you start it, you have 50 minutes, 50 minutes, 10 minutes less than an hour to get it completed. Most people get it completed within 20 to 30 minutes. So, and it can be, again, it can be done anytime between 7 o'clock in the morning on Friday and midnight Friday, but it must be done on Friday. So these are some of the key points as far as the chapter for this week and then in the expectations for this week. Again, it's going to be a heavy week. We just don't have a discussion board this week. And then also feedback from the last week. If you have questions, please give me a shout.